back to the Culturally Distinct podcast. It's your boy DJ KO. I'm glad you guys tuned in. I'm here with my co-host, Miss India Thomas Johns. How you doing, India? Good to see you.
Good. Good to see you too.
And we're here with two individuals that I think right now is a important time in what we have going on for those especially who listen into sports, who are fans of different players in different avenues of if it from football to basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it is. We heard about the tragic loss of the young man down in Louisiana, Mr. Kyren Lacy, of the suicide that took place yesterday on Sunday. He was supposed to be a first round draft pick, but things kind of spiraled out of control after he had an incident down in Baton Rouge, him hitting a 78-year-old man in speeding in his vehicle. So he
Allegedly.
allegedly, yes.
Allegedly.
Uh, so I wanted to bring two individuals on that deal in this capacity, and you've probably seen these two individuals on the show before, Mrs. Carmen McZell and Ladrika White, because they're experts in this field. I got to give a shout out, big shout out to Ed Sports Counseling. Much love to Ed Sports Counseling. Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Hi,
Hey, thank you,
great. Thank
Adam.
you.
So
Thank you.
I know you guys are busy, especially around this time of this tragic loss. I want to start off and go on into like what do we do about situations like this when we have young men that are potentially are going to be millionaires, but prior to that, they had their whole life as this person that was on top. Everybody seen them as the cream of the crop. What does a person do?
Mhm.
Auntie, cousin, friend, mother, father. What does a person do in situations like this?
I think the first thing is instinctively you want to make sure and continue to plug in and make sure that, that individual is okay. And, sometimes our outward, and in a lot of cases, our outward presentation is that we are, but we have that instinct, that gut feeling. And you want to be proactive rather than reactive. If your gut is saying, you know what, it's something that's a little different, it's a little bit off, someone is doing something, I'm not quite sure, ask them, reach out, check on them. How many times do you hear people say, check on your strong friends?
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes we take for granted this is the person that's always here, like they can handle it. Check on them, especially if they're a friend.
Abs-
Are you okay?
yeah. But on
What
top
are you
of
feeling?
that, I'm sorry, Ladrika, I apologize. On top of that, I think that there's another aspect of it, right? As Ladrika mentioned, pay attention to what normal in your livelihood in your day-to-day looks like, right? So if they are
Hmm.
off, I agree with her 100%. In this situation, this is a profoundly sensitive and tragic situation, right? And
Hmm.
so also knowing when or recommending taking the initiative sometime to get them the help that they need, because sometimes people don't know how to pull the trigger. They don't know. And we say, why not? But common sense isn't always common practice, right? We don't know how, so many other variables. So in this, sometimes initiating, giving them the help that they need, because for instance, Ladrika and I have a clear understanding of that human aspect of an elite athlete, an elite performer, a person who still has to deal with the pressures of being an athlete coupled with the intense stressors that comes with just the day-to-day life. And
Hmm.
sometimes, for instance, the individual that we're talking about, that young man had two of the most intense stressors, right? That we would imagine, that is the prospect of being drafted into the NFL, right? Your dreams coming true. Also, the uncertainty of other things relating to the potential of felony charges, that sort of thing. That's an intense thing. But we also have to pay attention to your company, pay attention to the people around you, and take the initiative. You never want to live in regret, like I saw it, but I didn't know, I wasn't sure, maybe I should have. Just do it. Keep them in the forefront and take the initiative.
So I have an additional question with that. Even when you do sometimes take the initiative with a friend or someone under so much pressure, they have their either people around them or they're so used to say, "Oh, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm cool. Like, thanks for asking, but no, I'm straight." Like, how do you, I guess you can say, push or help them see that, like, let's actually have a conversation. What do you do?
That's a really good question. I think one, normalizing it, right? Just because the implication is not that you're okay, right? But you're acknowledging what they said, but at the same time, recognize that even when we are okay, we're not always okay. And so we're not normalizing in the sense that what you're doing is just checking on you. We have to, what Ladrika and I are always pushing is that the mental aspect of an individual should be seen like the physical aspect of an individual. It's a normal aspect of you, right? And it's a normal aspect of who we are as individuals. Just like you would care for your physical, seek out help for your mental, but it's not because something is wrong necessarily with you. You're not you don't have all the negative connotations around it. You're not crazy. You just may need additional support. That's all it is support. So I think in reducing the stigma or negative connotation, and then also to normalizing that this is not a big thing. It doesn't have to be a big deal to you, right? But you also here as an added support for them.
That makes
I
sense.
want to add another perspective to that. So in addition to that, we have a certain level of awareness. The more aware we are of certain things, the more we pay attention to things. The more we pay attention, the more we're observing different things that even though you say you may be good or you may be okay, something that's a little bit off. There's something that's not lining up. And so in that aspect, observing, if you're sitting and you notice like social media, people are hard.
Yeah.
And they forget sometimes that they're talking or trolling or speaking of another human, better yet, someone else's child.
Right.
And so in that aspect, you see things, it pops up all the time. I don't know what the algorithm, who is talking to it or who is talking around it, but somehow the things that you look for somehow you look for it once and anything else close or pertaining to starts to come up in your For You page.
Yeah.
And so in that aspect, if you're seeing things that's not true about someone that you care about, then you need to check on them.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you.
I want to ask you guys this, and this coming from a athlete standpoint, a person that played ball at the highest level. I know that in the locker room, we're not trained to your point, Corman, to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. We're trained to say, look, you didn't go your hardest today, you're going to get cut, or you're going to be off the team. Especially nowadays with kids now, so I say kids in college and they're going to high school, they're getting this money, and you have a lot of people in their circle. When I talk about in that circle, I'm talking about agents, trainers, teachers. They're taught to say, look, this is a performance-based business. You don't have time to be okay. It's performance. My question is, in an atmosphere like that, when you have all these people around you that don't see the signs, like you guys spoke about, how can that message get eluded within those circles?
There is some type of a support system.
Okay.
Whether it's we're supporting you, getting where you need to go, there is some type of support system. And so then with the quick check-ins, Carmen and I, we have clients that it's not necessarily anything wrong. They just need someone that's a mutual party to just offload on. Well, of course, being a mental coach, like, okay, let's talk through this and let's come up with some strategies. How do you deal with this? And so, of course, Adam, yes, I know it is always perform, but how can you perform if your mental is really not there?
And also too, I mean, that's a great question. But here, the importance is getting individuals, regardless of, like for instance, Adam, yourself as an athlete. What we would always try to do, even with your family and your kids, right? We always have to separate the identity of who the individual is from the circumstances or your situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though your situation is you have to produce, you want to remain relevant, right, effective, so that you can keep your position, your role.
Mm-hmm.
However, that doesn't negate the fact of who you are as an individual and what you need as an individual and the language and what you're actually saying to yourself. This is one thing you always have to keep separate and keep in that main frame. You know who you are as an individual regardless of where you are in the world, right? You know what you need. So it's separating the identity of the person from the current situation. And also, this is when one thing that we would do is use cognitive reframing, right? And self-regulatory skills and things of that nature. What do I mean by cognitive reframing? We have to be mindful of what we say, right? And what you deposit into yourself, and that need of I gotta. We do it in our verbiage, right? And what we say in our behavior. For instance, man, I don't have time for that because I have to do X, Y, and Z. I have to remain relevant. I have to push. I have to work harder. Well, I can guarantee you, if you neglect this, you're working against yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
If this is not in check, all that other stuff with being productive on the field, it's not going to happen. So you always have to stay in tune, right? With your main player, this is it.
Yeah.
So and being able to separate and know the difference. This is what I have to give for me in order to stay productive out there.
So yeah, I have an additional question with that. So I understand that when it comes to the pressures that they're put on for their performance, but then what about the pressures that they're put on for financial responsibility of their families and if they have children or whoever is pretty much in their pockets at the end of the day, and they feel the responsibility of supporting these children or supporting families and supporting friends that they feel as though held them down from the beginning. Like, what kind of guidance do you guys give for that?
So with that, in a sense, it's almost like I call it the payback syndrome. Like you've invested all of this time, you've invested all of these things into me. So now I feel like I have to pay you back.
Right.
So I'm hearing what you're saying, but I want with awareness. If I am that person that is now being taken care of, is this an extra burden? Am I doing this because I want to be taken care of, or am I doing, and granted, there are some that are in the position to do it, and it's nothing off of them. Like it's like, yes, I have this, yes, we're writing this, and it's taken care of, but it's the ones that's barely in. And, it's like, I'm on this team. I don't know what next year is going to look like, not realizing that, okay, I may get 800,000, but when I realize I'm taxed 40% on that, but I'm spending as if I have it's just different things like that don't help the situation. So then it's what supports can you put in place? If those things, stress management, external factors, like is this person performing at the level that they need to perform at? Of course, the internet, social media, it'll let you know. And if it doesn't let you know, you turn on the news sources. Of course, we're not plugging any in, but you turn on the news sources, they're sure to let you know, oh, they had a horrible game. And it's like they still performed.
Right.
And so it's like you have to have a very strong mental mindset to be able to deal with all of those components, because if not, it will definitely get the best of you because you have no release and no downtime. It's constant. Okay, I'm at work. This is my pressure. When I get home, this is my pressure. When I get here, I have to deal with this. Everybody's calling me for, like, it's, when does it stop?
Yes. And I think on top of what Ladrika mentioned, what's so very important is one, being able to compartmentalize, and two, control the controllables, right?
Mhm.
And so what does that look like in that sense? So even though others may be depending on you, you cannot lose focus of what the main thing is. You're going to control what you can control. What can you control? You can control how do you respond to a situation. You can also control and determine if you choose to take on what they're projecting. Just because you want me to be responsible for it does not mean that I have to then take on that responsibility. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Do for your family is what you're going to innately want to do, but you don't have to do anything else above that, right? Reason why I also say, what can you control? Regardless of when you do your best or what you think people want you to do, what's important is to know there's always going to be a level of expectation that you cannot reach.
Mhm.
It's almost like that never having enough, right? You're pouring into it like this bottomless pit, that sort of thing. So you can control how you take care of yourself. You can control your nutrition. You can control your workouts. You control what you do on the job. You can control how you perceive it and how you behave and respond to it. Anything other than that is a distraction
Mm,
from
I
the
like
main thing.
I like
That's
that.
Yeah.
important because yesterday, I'm not connected to the family at all, but I know some external sources that was connected directly. The coach who coached
Mhm.
me for the last 3 years at LSU, I knew him real good. Some of the family members from Thibodeau, and
Yeah.
I think it's to do what Drake was saying. Uh, I never thought about that. Why are all these people connected to this individual? Are they doing it to get something out of it? Because it was more, I was getting the text of it hurt me more than it hurt the family. And I was wondering, why was it hurting them outside of the death, of course, but was they're
Yeah.
trying to get something from it when he got to this level? So I never thought about that. That makes sense. So that brings me to this question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
that's
When
and
you
that's something we have to, we have to question too, especially in the college and high school arena. More of NFL, they put
Mhm.
people around you, but in that arena, they really don't put handlers around you to handle those type of situations.
And
But
what's really what you just mentioned, Adam, is not just for him, right? A lot of families, we all have that, right? The one who makes it, the one who's the oldest, the one who does all the things. Sometimes there are other things surrounding those individual expectations, and you kind of like what you just said. Why are you so sad other than the death? What expectations did you have attached to this person? Yeah,
so I want
that's
was
to,
so
these like you're talking about you're referring to like people in his circle?
yes, like handlers, like like you might have a uh, a, a bitty ball coach or a junior high
Mhm.
coach that brought him croissants every day, or somebody brought him some gloves and cleats, or somebody said, "Here, take."
Mhm.
I was one of the sponsors, and now with the NIL legally, uh,
Mhm.
somebody that
Mhm.
was just there. If you need me, they call me. You know what I mean? Stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
That's what I mean by handlers. But
That's a
yeah.
question that you like think about it. Everybody wants to be a part of the winner. Like,
A
but
moving
do
train,
you
right?
right? Yeah, like what? But here's the thing. Do you truly have my best interest
Mhm.
at heart?
yeah,
Mhm.
And sometimes we have to step back and see, you know what? Let me put people through the test. It's almost like you don't have direct access to the Queen of England. You got to go through a few checkpoints. So why don't we do that with ourselves?
Right.
Sometimes you'll be surprised at how easily accessible people are. But then the thing is, what is your why are you around me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is your intent?
good question.
Are you truly in my village?
Mhm.
Absolutely. But do you notice the biggest contradiction in this whole thing? Oftentimes, when people like that young men are in those positions where their big wildest dreams are about to come true, right? People think your life is easy and you have it made. They don't
Mhm.
realize it's usually the opposite because it's more pressure. Because
Right.
once you make it, you want to stay there, right? So it's added pressure. And then, you guys, as we just talked about, sometimes it's those unspoken, unrealized, or maybe it is spoken and realized pressures or expectations from others. So you have now compounded that stress for them. And so these people are just trying to hold it together while they perform,
Right.
right? At an elite level, that's the contradiction. People on the outside perceive their lives as, oh, you've made it. That's it. It's done. Like the work ends. It's not easy to have gotten there, and it's not easy to stay there.
Right.
And so keeping all of that, your mental intact, and still being able to navigate that with all of your expectations on me, coupled with my already responsibilities, that's not what making it. You know what I mean? Because if we had to live under that same pressure of what it takes to be an elite athlete, no one would ever say it's easy if you truly understood what it took.
Yeah. And I think that's an and standing position when it comes to anybody with high expectations or responsibilities, right? Like even when it comes to CEOs of companies, it's a lot of responsibility. The president of the United States, it's a lot of responsibility, no matter. You always going to have somebody complaining about something or someone saying that you didn't do something for them. So I think that's why I think your business is so important, because they have to understand what's priority, what what people I need to put first and second, and therefore and for so forth and so on. And is that something also that you teach them as far as their surroundings and people to have, basically have their back?
Absolutely. We do. And what's so weird, and Ladrika and I talk about this all the time, and that is people, I think, are maybe are they discovering this a little more? What we do, although we work just with athletes, what we offer is for everyone. It transcends professions, right? It transcends environments, that sort of thing. We can all benefit from it, because what we're talking about is how do you navigate and keep how we help every individual you have to have a mental game plan for every aspect of your life. Meaning we're trying to give you perspective in the midst of chaos. Right. In the midst of, sometimes people not only have the natural pressures that we talked about, but some of them also have mental health issues on top of that. You know what I mean? That's not your fault. That's just something that millions of us struggle from, right? On a day-to-day basis. And this is why what we do is so important and so relevant, not just to athletes, but to all humans. Because when people don't know what to do, sometimes they do nothing and they don't realize that that's still a choice. You are doing something. You've chosen to not do anything. And so many people in this world are just white knuckling it, right? When you squeeze your fist so hard, just trying to maintain, and we think that just because we made it through the day, we've done something. I can't imagine how hard it is to be able to struggle and to hold on barely with no skills at all. How to manage it. So that's why we do this. We want to help you manage it, the way you exist in the world, the way these athletes and the pressures that they have to deal with. We want you to be able to manage it and then be able to exist and flow. And all that you have to deal with, but to be able to do it and it not take you out, so to speak, because nothing that we go through is meant to destroy you, but how we handle it and what we do in the moment does matter.
And so we have people that come in because their performance is off. So they come in for the mental performance, but of course it really turns into personal success coaching, because it's like, now, if there is that instance where I'm seeing some anxiety, then we know and are able to identify those things because we have the background as therapists. And so it's not that, hey, go here and, because I'm going to tell you, when you do have those athletes that do come to you, it's like something is not right. They'll open up. But it's that stigma getting through the door. It's like, is something wrong with me? No, it's not. Just look at it like someone that you don't know, that you can have a fair and open conversation with. That's in a safe space, that's not judging you. And so that's why I say it comes in a lot of times as performance, but then it goes into personal success. So it's like, okay, well, I just need to talk about this. I'm stressed out. I go home, I can't sleep, and it's just certain things. And it's like, of course, that's not, it's the personal success coaching.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, let me give you some strategies. What are some things? How do you communicate? And then you see, okay, well, it's effective communication that we need to work on.
Exactly.
And so we're able to
yeah.
kind of help them comb through what is the root of the issue.
And like Drika
what is
said,
the
we
cause?
personalize it to you, right, Drika? We personalize it to their needs,
Mhm.
their desires, what motivates you. For instance, a lot of us are motivated by something bigger than ourselves, right? If that spiritual component is big for you, that's going to be a part of your plan, right? Of what we do for you, because we're serving the entire individual, right? Based off of what gets you going. And what motivates you and how to reach you. And Ladrika was so right, because oftentimes whenever you come under the guise of one thing, what we end up talking about is something else, but that's liberating to you. The success and how they show up on the field when you let me tell you, before you show up, or when you show up, I can tell. Ladrika and I are experienced enough to know if you're pretending, right, or if it's the real deal. When confidence walks in the room, it looks differently. You also know what it looks like when someone is defeated, right? Before they say anything, it shows in your body language.
And your body language.
And so it shows up. And so we can see that. And that's all part of what we do. And so we always, and I think the last time we were here and we talked with Adam, we told him that we pay attention, we listen to what you tell us, but we pay attention to what you don't. Right? And so that's where we attack and address that to help you.
And in addition, like if you really, with that level of awareness, if you're watching any sports competition and you have this one team that has this, like they are scoring, like everything is going right. The minute something changes, you can see the momentum shift, and you can see, you're like, they got them. Like you can see when that team that's used to being up, like their body language, their whole demeanor just drops. And then you see that loss in motivation.
Yeah.
And so it's just with that level of awareness, I'm like, like you can almost see, like, this is not, I see it. The body language defeat is already on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
guys, you guys are motivating me. I if it wasn't for Ed Sports Counseling, I'm telling you, this is a gym for people. I'm telling you guys. But in closing, guys, 'cause I know everybody has a time schedule and things have to take place. I want to know because we spoke about management. I want to talk about a little bit about briefly about pain management or anger management or just grief management. Because right now we have parents that are grieving right now. How do they manage this type of pain that they're suffering? Because they don't see their baby as a athlete or a first round draft pick. They see that baby running around in diapers when they was first born.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I always tell my clients that certain things that impact you, and especially death and grief, it looks different with different, it varies with different people. And that is not ever anything that you will ever get over. What it is you have to learn how to take this burden and make it a little bit lighter so that you can continue to carry it. And so it's almost like when you bring it in grocery bags, you know how it's like we try to put 6 on one arm and 5 on the other because we're trying to juggle them, and we get in the house and it's like, whoo. We just have to figure out a better grip so that we can carry it lighter. And so that's just with different strategies. Now, a lot of my clients, once I explain to them what the phases are, what they look like, just that psychoeducational piece, then they understand what's going on with them. They understand when they're going back and forth between stages. But like you said, it's just recognizing, like, this is not anything, this is very unfortunate, but it's not anything that anyone is going to ever get over. People may pick up and they may move forward with their lives, but it's still an impact that was made.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
also,
glad you made that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. Go, India.
I
Go.
was just going to say, I'm glad that you said that because I know just for my mental health, when I went through a divorce and seeking counseling, to hear someone talk to me and help me understand my feelings, right? Like
Yeah.
what I'm freaking feeling. You put it into words, I'm like feeling so liberated. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it's a lot of liberation and understanding your feelings to actually put, words to it and help you kind of navigate through the next steps.
Yeah, and I think that I appreciate you saying that, India, and I think that Ladrika was spot on. One thing that I would add is the importance of letting people exist in that moment, however they show up, right? Sometimes we do, because we care. I want you to be okay. I don't want to see you in pain, that sort of thing. And sometimes people don't know what to do. It's just the art of being there. It's nothing to say, right? Because kind of like no words at that point. But as time goes on and allow yourself to go through it, how we get stuck is when we start blaming. What could I have done different? What should I have done? Should I have known? I shouldn't have gone. I should have went. All the things that you say, right? When you're dealing with how I wish the situation was different. But then I think also supporting them and being there for them, but also in that moment hearing them and whatever that looks like as time goes on and as they continue to go through the stages, then hopefully they're able to go a little deeper, where sometimes later on in the process you interrupt the thought of, it's the thought of what could I have done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That phase is actually the bargaining phase. And so that's if I would have done this, it would have changed that. And people tend to go back and forth with that. Even with divorce, it is common to experience some of the stages of grief in that. But the final stage is the acceptance. And acceptance is not necessarily that I'm okay with it. It's just I know how to take the next step.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And acceptance is hard. It is. It's a hard thing. But hopefully it's one that you yourself have found liberating and that we all would. But my heart goes out to them. And I think I speak for Ladrika in this. Your heart goes out to them or to anyone in this situation. But be true to yourself in that situation, and allow yourself to go through the process, although it's difficult, because sometimes you want to avoid it and just numb it. And as soon as the numbness wears off, it's right there waiting.
It's right back there again.
It never left. So
it never left. So therefore, that's why I think talking through it and having someone like you to give them the tools to do so is so powerful. We all need you. I'm serious. You do some great work. Absolutely. So I haven't been on this show while you were on it. So give us some more information of how long you've been in the industry and the business, and just a little bit about both of you, please.
Oh my gosh. So Carmen and I together have combined 40 years of experience.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ladies.
I started off in the school system. I worked 22 years in the school system as a school counselor.
Okay.
And of course, like I say, married to athlete turn professional turn coach. Like I live in this world.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then daughter that's a student athlete. So I see the need. Like I see when you have this kid that is happy in practice, but I see him walk by and it's a whole different demeanor, like the body language. Like I see it's, and I don't want to say like it, you could see where the need lies. And it's like, yes, everybody wants to be and support the athlete. Like when they're going and they're about to go to the professional level and they're about to make it and they're on the commercials. But who wants to support the one that's broken?
Right.
Not a lot of people run to that path.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
And so, as Vidrika mentioned, we've known each other for a long time. And although she was in school, I was in everything else. And what I mean by that is there is no aspect of therapy that I haven't done with the exception of school.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so it's just a lot of a bundle of experience. We're fortunately not new to this. We're relatively, I said, less than 5 years working with athletes
Mhm.
solely in our practice, but not new to the profession and not new to behavior and life and all the other things. So we look forward to just growing and manifesting and people having the opportunity to share what we know, our expertise to help athletes all over.
30 seconds. I got 30 seconds. How can they find you guys?
You can find us www.edgesportscounseling.com or any of our social media platforms at Edge Sports Counseling. And that's X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or you can reach out to info@edgesportscounseling.com. That's our email.
Perfect.
India, how can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Thomas Johns Consultancy at www.tjconsultancyllc.com. I'm on all social media platforms, just like Ladrika said, and under India Thomas Johns. So please reach out to me if you have any problems or needs for your financial future.
Love that.
Appreciate you guys coming on.
Absolutely.
I got 10 seconds, guys, so I appreciate you guys coming on. You know how to find me at Culturally Distinct everywhere. Guys, thank you. I appreciate you guys and you guys on mute.
Thank you all so much.
Thank
you
you.
guys.
All right,
Bye.
bye. Bye-bye.